Hi everyone, it's Joanna here, back from Vintage Style by Jo. We are doing a series this week for pretty much for the month of January. Or sit on the couch and make crafts to sell, to make and sell. So why not work on some flowers? So for our first video, we did the fabric clusters, the fabric and lace clusters. Our second video, we did our fabric loop flowers, and we showed you a whole bunch of ideas of what to do with those. And we made our yo-yo flowers, and we gave you some ideas for that. These are fun. And we just did a video yesterday for our ruffle flowers. So we made all different types of fabrics. We have our sheers, we have our cottons, and then we did our denims, right? So we have those. We showed you a whole bunch of ideas in our previous videos because these are probably the most versatile flowers of all. And today we are going to be making these guys. These are fabric rosettes, and we have tons of different fabrics. So we have our sheers, our duck fabrics. Yes, you can use thicker fabrics. Again, some more pretty sheers, our cottons. Okay, so let's get started. These are lots of fun to make. These are not ones that are going to really give you a hard time. You don't need the circles to the base circles to add. You just need the flower, and then we'll be going to be adding our laces to the bottom. It just gives it a little, little extra. Today we're not going to be adding lace. We're just going to do a basic flower, but you can add your laces to the center and mix them in. But this one is just a plain one. And we're just going to show you real quick to give you a foundation as to how to make these. So let me cut this off. It's a little pointy. Okay, so all right, so for these flowers, it doesn't matter how long your strip is. This is probably about a 20-inch strip. And this is not even cut evenly. It's cut a little wobbly, so it's probably like 1 inch, and then this part's probably like 1.5 inches. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is kind of like a soft, not sheer, but I don't even know what type of fabric, but anyway, any type of fabric is really, really good. Okay, so have your hot glue gun handy, your fabric strip. You can sit one night and just cut strips and make that a on the couch night. And then the next night, sit down with your strips and make your flowers. You need some pearls or beads, and then some buttons. You can always add rhinestones too, but for today we are just going to use some pearls and beads. Okay, so the first part of this, we're going to just flip this down. Right here, this is what we're going to do, just flipping it down, right? And I don't usually do it, but you can add a little dab of hot glue, right? We'll keep this down because this is actually going to be our center part. Okay, so now we're going to take this, and we're going to take our finger here, right here, and we are going to flip it under. See that? Okay, and we're going to do this again. So we glued we put this piece down right here. And now we're going to take this in one hand, and we're going to take pointer finger, and we're just simply going to flip it. So now you have this right here. See? Okay, and you can always slow down the video if you want to do it, see it slower, okay? So again, we have our little fabric, we fold it down, we're going to take our finger, and then we are just going to do that, okay? And now we're going to take our finger again and flip it over, and then you have this. So this is the basic same process. I'm sorry my thumb is in the way, but I have to hold it, okay? This is going to be our center part. So again, we are going to take our pointer finger and just flip it. We're going to round our little rose here, and now that's our center, right? So holding on to your center with both fingers on your right hand or whatever hand, holding this down, holding your centerpiece down here. We're going to keep doing the same thing. You'll see there's a little piece that sticks out here, and that's just rounding, making the tops rounded. So we're going to take our finger again and roll, keeping this here. Because as you can see now, we're getting the center of our flower. And we're just going to roll again. You can hold this pretty tight. So now, after you do a few of those rolls, you might find it easier to hold your flower from the top like this, keeping the tail down here. You might find it easier just to do it like this, hold it like that. Okay, so now we're going to just keep rolling. Roll. Roll with your hand, follow through with that hand. And then we are going to roll again, keeping this in your hand. And then we're going to just keep rolling and rolling. I'm going to roll this pretty tight because I want this to be a smaller flower. And then we're going to roll it again. Roll it. And then we're just going to keep doing that. You can wrap it as tight as you want. If you wrap it tighter, they're smaller. So now we're just going to keep wrapping. And of course, you can glue as you go along. But I find it once I move my hands, the whole thing unravels. So holding on to this as I go, as you turn it, right? We are flipping this over. And our last one, we are flipping. So for the last flip, right, this last piece here that we rolled, we're just going to stick a little glue on the last piece that just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. So for our bottoms here, you'll see that there's little pieces that are sticking out in here. Just give a quick glue so we don't put a little dab of glue inside each little spot here. And then we're going to do a little dab in this side here, just a tiny bit. Okay, and then our tail that we just glued, wrap it. We're not letting go of the flower. We're going to keep the flower in your one hand. So this is our little last piece that we had folded. So I'm going to take a little glue here on top, just a tiny little bit, and then I'm going to tuck it underneath this little piece in here. And then I'm going to glue that little piece in there because we were going to be gluing that anyway. Okay, so now we have our bottoms, because actually the bottom, you'll see, can get a little unruly. So now we're still holding on, not letting go of our flower. So we're holding the center part, and the side with either hand is being held down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through our little layers that we have along here, and I'm going to stick a little glue in between the layers. And then just press. I find it easier to glue this way than to glue along the way, because if, like I said, if you let go of the flower, it just unravels all over the place. So as you go through your layers, just add a smidge of glue in the layer. And then we're going to do the same on the other side, but having this side glued would be good. Okay. We're going to go through each one, a little dab of glue. You don't need to add too much. Okay, and then we're going to get to the center. We're going to add a little glue right in the center on this side. And we're just going to press it in there. So this is the one side that we did here. We've glued in between each of these layers. And now I'm going to flip it around, holding the center still. And now we are going to do the same on this side. So we're going to separate our layers a little bit, and we're going to do some gluing right in here. And then press. So now we're getting our flower glued. This is just the way that I do it. I just find this, we've been making these for a very long time, and this is just easier. And you can actually just sew these flowers too. I'll show you in a second. So now we're going to glue the center down on this side. I'm going to just put a little dab here. Okay. So now we have a pile of hot glue strings. Okay, so now we have our flower, right? For the most part, we have our little rosette, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along, now that most of the flower is glued, I'm going to go and check to see if there's any, see, like for this part right here, I must not have added a glue. So I'm going to go and check, because this is easier now that you have most of it glued. It's easier to go back and check to see if you have any spots. So you could just pull, give a little pull and see if there are any spots that could use a little glue here. And as you make a whole bunch of these, this process is so easy. Okay, so we're gonna do the pull test is what I call it. So we're gonna pull. There's a little glue, a little spot in here. If it pulls out, then just to add a dab of glue. Because if you're selling these and someone is buying them and they didn't get the flower and the flower unravels, that's not good. And that's happened because, you know, it's just things happen. Okay, so let's see, we're going to pull, right? We're going to just pull to see where, if there's any. All right, so this seems pretty good right now, right? And we have our little center. I left a little hole in the center on purpose. You can wrap the center, like I said, you could wrap them real tight. If you wrap the center real tight, there's not as much room for buttons. And then what happens is you wind up getting a big pile of buttons like this high. See, like these buttons are recessed. They're actually below the flowers. So if you're adding them to a journal, these are quite flat. So if you're adding them to a journal, these are fine. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, we have to cut our tail. And it was a good thing that we had glued around the back, because if you cut the tail, you don't want to cut your the back of it. So just cut the tail, right? And you don't have to worry about gluing this right now because we are going to be adding the lace on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to pick our pearls, right? Okay, so let's pick a couple. I might just add just one. I think I'm probably just going to add one just to show you guys for time's sake. You guys can add absolutely whatever you want. So I'm going to stick a little pearl in there. Right? So we have our little flower here. And now I'm going to pick out some lace to put on the bottom of our flower. Let's see. That might be a little too small. Way too big, so I'm going to cut a new one. I like this ribbon, this lace right here. I purchased this roll at Hobby Lobby. I think it was with my 40% off coupon. It was like $6, but there's yards and yards of this. And this is perfect because it's a stiff lace. It actually gives a little bit more foundation. We use these for our clusters too. So I'm going to cut a little lace here for my flower. And again, we're always cutting a little bigger because you want to make sure that we have them, you know, nice and tight in here. Okay, so for this one, what I'm going to do here is, and any lace scraps never go to waste. Absolutely never, because they are used for everything. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take our flower and we're going to glue around the perimeter of the top here as close as possible. And then we'll put a little glue in the center, right there, probably just around here. This is not an exact science. And be careful when you're gluing this down. It is lace and the glue is hot, so you just kind of push down around the outsides. And press down on your flower. Right? Oh, I didn't put enough glue here. Or I was yapping and I waited too long, so I don't know. Okay, so you want to make sure the ends are glued down to your lace here. So what happens when you start yapping? Okay. Right, we have our little flower. And now I am going to cut around my flower, leaving about 1/2 inch around the outside. Kind of gives it a little, you know, extra little touch. If you are selling these, people really love this. They always tell us that they love, you know, having a little lace, because you can make hair barrettes out of these, right? You can make little corsages. They're great little favors. Just like the ruffle flowers, they're perfect for lots of different occasions, right? How cute is that as a little corsage, right? If you added little rhinestones, you could do whatever. So that is our fabric rosette flower. Lots of different uses for these. Again, you can put these on your journal covers. So we have a cover here, my country French one. I've added it. I didn't put the lace on the bottom of this because it already had slow stitched eyelet lace on it. And then there was a little lace here, but right, add it to your journals. You can add them to anything and they're great. So these have been very popular for us. So if you are making these to sell them, these are great. If you want to sell them as hair barrettes or corsages, put a little pin or a barrette on the back, you're good. Okay, so that is video number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is video 5 of our sit on the couch, make crafts to sell. So I hope you enjoyed it. We have one more flower. We have these little flowers in our flower series. So we have one more flower, and then we do have other goodies that we are going to be making for sit on the couch, but I figured we would just put our flowers and our clusters together so you guys can see the different varieties, and there's more flowers. These are just our most popular ones for us here at Vintage Style by Joe. But thank you so much for watching. I will be talking to you again real soon because we have lots to do, lots to make. But again, if you can, please subscribe. That does help us out a lot. And again, I will be talking to you really soon. Thank you so much again. Bye-bye.